The phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m., face down on her side of the nightstand, vibrating against the wood like it had a heartbeat of its own. My wife was in the shower. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to check the weather for tomorrow's flight. But the screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize, saved with a single red heart emoji, and a message preview that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she, though she didn't know that yet. By the time the sun came up, one of us would still be married. The other one would just be someone standing in a house they used to call home. They thought they had until Friday to figure out their story. They had no idea I already knew how it ended. Before I tell you what happened next, comment below where you're watching this from, and subscribe if you believe the truth always finds a way out, no matter how well it's hidden. My name is Daniel Voss. I'm 34 years old, a structural engineer at a mid-sized firm in Denver, and until that Tuesday night, I would have told you my marriage was solid. Not perfect, nothing is but solid. 7 years married to Claire, 2 of them good, 3 of them comfortable, and the last 2 I now realize I'd been quietly lying to myself about. Claire worked in event planning, the kind of job that came with late nights, client dinners, and a calendar I never questioned, because why would I? I trusted her. That's the part that still makes my jaw tighten when I think about it, not what she did, but how easy it was for her, because I never once made her work for the lie. That Tuesday started like any other. I got home from work around 6, made dinner, we talked about nothing important, her sister's baby shower, whether we should refinance the house. Normal, boring even. The kind of boring I used to think meant we were safe. Claire got in the shower around 11:30. I was in bed scrolling through nothing in particular when her phone lit up on the nightstand. I want to be honest, I wasn't the type of husband who checked his wife's phone. I never had a reason to. But the screen stayed lit long enough for me to see the contact name, Work M, saved with a heart emoji next to it, and underneath it a message preview, can't stop thinking about last night. Same hotel Thursday? I sat there frozen. Not the dramatic kind of frozen you see in movies, just still, staring at a rectangle of glass, waiting for my brain to find a reasonable explanation. There wasn't one. Not for a coworker saved with a heart, not for last night, not for same hotel. When the shower shut off, I put the phone back exactly where it had been, face down, angle untouched. And I did something that surprised even me. I said nothing. Not that night, not the next morning when she kissed me goodbye and said she had a vendor meeting after work. I want to be clear about why. I've watched enough of these situations unfold with friends to know the truth. The moment you confront someone with half of the picture, they get 3 days to build a better lie than the one you caught. I didn't want her version. I wanted the actual one. So I did the quiet work. I didn't hack anything. I want to be upfront about that. Because everything that happened after was built on things I was legally allowed to access. Our family plan meant I could see data usage patterns, not messages, but enough to notice her data spiked every Tuesday and Thursday between 6 and 9 p.m. hours she'd told me she was with clients. I pulled up old shared calendar invites she'd forgotten to delete from 2 years back, before she started keeping things separate. One name kept surfacing in the faded history, Marcus Reyes, a venue coordinator she'd mentioned maybe twice. Always in passing, always unimportant sounding. Unimportant people don't get heart emojis. For the next 9 days, I didn't accuse. I didn't snoop through her phone again. I didn't need to. Instead, I started paying attention the way you pay attention to a building before you decide whether it's safe to walk into. Small cracks. She started angling her phone screen away from me at dinner, something she'd never done in 7 years. She forgot her wedding ring at the gym twice. She got a new habit of stepping outside to take calls, phone pressed tight to her ear, voice dropping the second the door closed behind her. On the 6th day, I drove past the venue she said she'd been working at that Thursday. It had been closed for renovations for 3 weeks. I didn't confront her. I just sat in my car outside our own driveway for 11 minutes before I could make myself walk inside and act normal. That's the part nobody talks about, how much acting it takes to survive the truth quietly, while you gather enough of it to matter. By the 9th day, I had what I needed to stop guessing and start knowing. I'd requested our shared credit card statements early, something I did every quarter anyway for taxes, so it raised no flags. Buried in there was a charge from a hotel 40 minutes outside the city the Aldridge Inn, dated the same night as that first message. $214. Booked at 6:40 p.m. Checked out at 9:15 p.m. 3 hours. I sat with that number for a long time. 3 hours felt smaller than I expected, and somehow that made it worse, like our marriage had been quietly worth less than a dinner reservation to her. I didn't sleep that night either, because now I wasn't wondering if. I was deciding what I was going to do about it, and I already knew it wasn't going to be loud, and it wasn't going to be something she saw coming until it was already finished. By day 12, I wasn't the same man who'd frozen at that phone screen. I'd stopped feeling like a victim and started feeling like an engineer looking at a structural failure find the load-bearing lie, and the whole thing comes down clean. I called my cousin Wesley, who'd gone through a brutal divorce 2 years earlier and had the scars and the lawyer's number to prove it. I didn't tell him everything, just enough. He gave me one piece of advice I never forgot. Don't confront her until every document that protects you is already signed, sealed, and out of her reach. Once you say the words out loud, the clock starts, and she'll move money before you blink. So that's exactly what I did. I met with a family attorney, Patricia Ames, under the guise of updating our estate plan technically true, technically legal, and something Claire had zero reason to question since she'd been the one to suggest we update our wills after her mother passed. Patricia walked me through exactly how Colorado handled marital assets, what counted as separate property, and most importantly, what I needed to document before anything became a he said, she said situation in court. I quietly moved my half of our savings money that was legally mine from before the marriage, untouched and traceable, into an account Claire didn't know existed. Not to hide it maliciously, to protect it, the way Patricia explained, before emotions turned a clean split into a messy war. Then I did one more thing. The Aldridge Inn had security cameras in their parking lot public record, accessible through a simple request once I explained I suspected fraudulent card use, which technically I did since I hadn't authorized the charge. I didn't need footage of anything explicit. I just needed timestamps. Her car, in that lot, at 6:38 p.m. Leaving at 9:12 p.m. Matching the receipt to the minute. By day 16 I had a folder. Bank statements, data logs, a calendar history, parking lot timestamps, a signed, notarized financial separation already filed with my attorney. Not built out of rage, built out of patience. That Thursday, the same night as her vendor meeting, I didn't wait up angry. I sat in the living room with the folder closed on the coffee table and a cup of coffee going cold in my hands. She walked in at 9:47 p.m., hair slightly damp, perfume I didn't recognize. She smiled the way she always did, easy, practiced, safe. "Hey, how was your night?" she asked, already halfway to the kitchen. "Sit down, Claire." Something in my voice stopped her. Maybe it was the absence of the usual warmth. Maybe it was that I hadn't stood up to greet her in 9 days. I slid the folder across the table. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just watched her face as she opened it, the receipt, the timestamps, the data logs lined up like evidence in a courtroom, because that's exactly what they were about to become. Her face didn't crumble right away. First came the denial. This isn't what it looks like, the same tired line I'd already heard 100 times in other people's stories. Then, when she saw the parking lot timestamps matched to the minute, denial turned into something closer to panic. "You've been planning this," she said, voice shaking, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. "For 16 days, I said. "You had 2.5 years. She reached for her phone, maybe to call Marcus, maybe out of pure instinct to grab for something familiar. I already knew it didn't matter. The separation paperwork was filed, the accounts were protected, the house solely in my name from before the marriage. Something Patricia confirmed made it entirely mine, wasn't hers to negotiate over anymore. She cried. She apologized in the way people apologize when they're sorry they got caught, not sorry for what they did. I let her finish. Then I said the only thing I had left to say. I hope Marcus was worth losing all of this over. I didn't wait for an answer. I picked up my coffee, walked into the kitchen, and poured it out. 3 weeks later, the divorce was finalized with almost no dispute. There wasn't much to fight over once the documentation spoke for itself. Claire moved into a small apartment across town. I heard through mutual friends that Marcus didn't stick around once the romance stopped being a secret and started being a headline in both their divorces. I still live in that house. Some nights it's quiet in a way that used to scare me. Now it just feels like mine. For the first time in 2 years, nobody's phone buzzes at midnight with a name I don't recognize.